In today's video, I'm going to give advice for a drone beginner, such as my friend Matt here. Which is the best drone to buy in 2023? I've known Matt for, must be about 10 years now, we've been friends for.
It's a long time.
He's never really expressed much interest in getting into photography and that sort of thing. But he came round to my apartment once and he saw my drone taken off. I'm having one of those.
Get me one of them.
So I feel like for a lot of new people coming in, they're fascinated with the technology, and then it traps you, and then you get more interested in the creativity. So I think it is a cool toy, isn't it, to start with?
Yeah, it brings out the kid in you as well, doesn't it? But you can also use it to, fund a hobby, or just to fly around and understand the area. Even if you're in jobs that you need to get up high, use the camera on it, zoom in. You can look at, say, your roof, if there's tiles missing on your roof or something. There's many uses for it, but I'm more interested in going out into wildlife and mountains, and just seeing scenery from a different angle, really.
And what's amazing about drones as well is I feel like it crosses the gap between the technology, the cool technology, but it also then takes you out to nature as well.
Yeah.
It's not just technology where you're sat at home with an Xbox and you're kind of antisocial. It's this back and forth between learning, watching videos on YouTube, learning, but then becoming a creator and going out yourself and making friends within the drone community. So I think it's really cool from that point of view.
Yeah, at first, obviously, it'll start off as a hobby and, get to understand how you control them, how sensitive they are, things like that. And then as soon as I become, more confident, maybe I can use it for footage to sell online or things of that, a bit like what you do.
Well, stock footage anyone can get started with. So let's say you do a trip, anyone can upload the footage, it just happens to be needed for something, and then you can earn some passive income from that. So yeah, and also Matt's into property, that's his main job. So as you were saying before, being able to capture, let's say you were unsure about the roof, you can send your drone up, have a look at it. It's a really handy extra thing to have.
Yeah.
Maybe you're interested in buying an old house to do it up, you can do your own inspection.
Yeah.
So there's a handy practical function to it as well.
Yeah.
By the way, on this video, we're only going to be talking about cinematic drones. Okay, so we're not going to talk about FPV.
Right.
I think to start off with, it's a good idea to look at cinematic drones and you capture the smooth footage. I think FPV drones are really cool, but that's a very niche area where, it's a different thing really. So my first bit of advice is to go for a modern drone. I wouldn't look at some of these older drones, as much as I love them and I've got great memories, the technology has moved on a lot. So I'd be looking for a drone since the Mavic Air 2, which was released 2020, April. Any drone since then, they're much better at getting a GPS signal. So these older drones, even though you can get bargains on them, it's risky because the signal.
Old technology.
Yeah. I mean, they were amazing at the time, and feel that the build quality is decent.
Whoa.
The build quality is really good. It's solid, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually really heavy. It's made of metal. There's some metal rather than just plastic.
And whereas this is a more recent. This is the Mini 3 Pro. That actually feels more like a toy, but that's because it's under 250 grams, so they're wanting it's intentionally made lighter.
Why is that?
Because there are laws to do with restrictions, and if it's under 250 grams, you can fly it in more areas.
Right, okay.
So how I fly in Liverpool Centre, I can't do that with a heavier drone. This is the Phantom 3, and the controller is even bigger than some of the drones. It's double the size of the Mini 3 Pro, that.
Look at that, it's a beast.
I mean, you have to have a backpack just for the controller, pretty much. But what I would also say is, at the same time, don't wait for when the next release is going to be. Right. Don't try and think ahead. If you're interested in getting a drone, I would say the sooner the better, because we never know when the laws are going to change, and this is a wonderful hobby or job to get into. And if you wait and wait and wait, then you risk the laws changing and then it being harder to fly your drone.
Right.
And also remember that you are more important than the actual exact drone you have. So the sooner you get into it, the more experience you're going to have, the better you're going to get.
Okay.
On the DJI website, it'll say the Air 2S is an advanced drone, and the Mini 3, this is the Mini 3 Pro, but the Mini 3 is the beginner drone. I don't really agree with that because they're all just as easy to fly as each other, really. Drones from 2020 onwards, like I said, they're all very similar to Fly, and they are quite easy. You obviously do need to be careful. There's a danger because some of these drones have got obstacle avoidance, and that can make you a bit complacent because you see the marketing adverts, oh, this drone's so cool, it dodges in between trees. But a lot of them don't have sideways obstacle avoidance.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah. If it's at the front and you've got a branch that's moving.
Yeah, well, if you're setting up your shot, there's always that risk that you hit a branch this way. Yeah. And the first drone I ever had was the Phantom 3. I never crashed it. The first Mavic Air I had, I crashed it the first day I flew it. Because I've been watching the marketing adverts, oh, this has got sideways obstacle, I can never crash this drone, and then you get complacent. So I think that's why sometimes DJI have like the Mini 2, the Mini 3, and they don't actually have obstacle avoidance. A, because it saves money, and B, because you don't get complacent as a beginner. One major issue you're going to have to think about is whether you go for a sub 250 gram drone or a heavier drone. If you're really into mountaineering, then this is where going for a heavier drone such as the Mavic Air 2 or the Air 2S is really an option. I was looking before and you can get a used Air 2S for £500, which is insane.
Wow, that is.
£500 for a proper drone, borderline professional drone.
I was expecting it to be a couple of grand, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That shocked me.
Yeah. And the video quality you can get out of that as well, it's unbelievable. I mean, that's only with one battery. If you go for a Mavic Air 2, I saw some of those for about $475, Fly More combo. Incredible value. And I feel like talking about the beginner drones, we don't speak about those enough. Even though on the DJI website it says the Air 2S is an advanced drone. But look, if you really want to create mountaineering content, I would say just go for it.
Is it because of the weight and wind and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'll show this footage here where it just shows that it's more stable in the wind. I mean, just feel the build quality of that.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's a proper drone,
It's not plasticky, like, no. This is, obviously you've showed me this before, and this is a really light, obviously, under the grammage for certain areas, but it seems a bit, not cheaper, but it seems more like a toy.
Yeah, that's the way it feels. Which in some ways can be a good thing. Because if let's say you're out I mean, you couldn't really fly that in the city without further qualifications anyway. But this is a lot quieter to fly, which is a huge advantage. So Matt lives near Liverpool city centre, and that is going to be amazing just to be able to go down and film sunset whenever you can tell that's going to happen.
Yeah.
This drone is so quiet, it's one of the best things about it. It's portable. Now, I wouldn't necessarily put it in your pocket, but you could in theory, you know.
The size of it, yeah.
It's incredible. If you're not too sure, you've got far more areas where you can fly the sub 250 gram drones. And there are a lot of other benefits as well. So the Mini 3 Pro and the Mini 3, the camera will rotate to shoot vertical footage, which can then go straight on your phone. Now, I generally think, this is my general advice, to go for the Mini 3 Pro, just because of the versatility. There are also a lot of other advantages, so you've got portable charging on this, which is really handy. So you can't really say one drone is better than the other, it depends on your use case. But as a general rule, I would probably go for this first, and if you really get into drones, then go for a heavier one.
Right.
But if you're specific, right, I want to go mountaineering, because you could take this drone, this is pretty good in the wind resistance for its size.
Is it?
It is better than, say, the Mini 2.
Because it is light, so you think a bit of gust of wind and it'll take it.
If you did get this one, you would have to be more careful checking the forecast. So you can fly this in the mountains, but you just have to be more conscious. Whereas that drone, you've got a little bit more confidence taking it out. You know? So, but yeah, you've got to make a decision really more, right, cities or mountains, what's the priority? And then take it from there. If you go on the DJI website, they're suggesting to go for the Mini 3 as like the beginner drone. I struggle to recommend that, you know, because I just think the Mini 3 Pro, it's only £190 more, and there's a lot of features packed into that. The best advice I'd give you guys is when you're comparing different models, let's say we go from the Mini 3 to the Mini 3 Pro, you need to decide how important to you having obstacle avoidance is. Put in your mind, okay, that to me is worth £80.
Yeah.
You know. So then if the drone is going for £190 more, that's already £80.
Yeah.
And then there are other things as well. So it's got D-Cine, like, you know, you can do hyperlapses. There are a lot of other features included in this.
That's cool, I like that.
So that's why I think I can't really recommend the Mini 3 at the moment. Now, I think it's a good drone, and I think in the future, if the problem is it's only really just been released. so you can't really get a great deal on it at the moment. They're generally going for about 519, that's what the price is on the DJI website. Now I think in the future, if it drops down to more like 400, then the gap is going to be, okay, I can see why that's a really useful beginner drone. Now, the Mini 2, you can get that for $290. You know, your first drone ever, Mini 2 is a decent drone. Not saying it's perfect, this is an upgrade, but it's over double the price.
So is there a mass difference in technology, or is it just that it's a cheaper build, or what's the main differences?
There's a lot of improvements. Obviously, they've had 2 years to work on the technology. So for me, the main one is having D-Cine-like, so it gives you more dynamic range.
Right. Yeah.
You've also got the obstacle avoidance on this, which I haven't got on the Mini 2.
Gold dust.
You've also got hyperlapse mode. You've got the propellers are quieter. The Mini 2 isn't a noisy drone by any means. It's quieter than the Air 2S. It's a lot quieter than some of the older drones I had. So for $290, you really can't complain. But the point I'm making is, I would either go super cheap for $290 used Mini 2, and at that point it's almost, I wouldn't say it's a disposable drone, because obviously the next issue is, do you get care refresh or not? It's an insurance policy by DJI. And for a drone at $290, it's not as so bad if you crash it. You know, it's not so...
You don't want to crash it at all.
Yeah, of course you don't want to crash it at all, and you do want to fly as carefully as possible. But it's also, if you're going to go for a Mini 3 Pro, then so you're talking 709, plus then you're going to get care refresh. Okay. So then this is when it starts to add up, and then do you get the new remote, etc. So it can get quite expensive.
I suppose though, if you buy cheap, then you might be more careless. But if you buy, you know, you put a bit more money into it, it might make you look after it more and not be as risky. So you build up your confidence slower than you do with a cheaper drone, where you might just go all out and just take on flights that you're not really skilled for.
And I certainly wouldn't recommend anything like below $300. You know, these cheap ones on Amazon that you see, or eBay. I mean, the marketing they might look good in the photo, and they say, oh, it's got a 4K camera, but it'll be garbage. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So like
absolute garbage.
4K camera is the maximum capability, but in certain light, you know, you don't get that quality.
Yeah, and will it be stable, the drone? Will it go all over the place? You know, you could hit something. You can trust the stability now on these drones, and DJI are ahead of the game. So yeah, it does make it easier to choose which drone you go for. But people must get sucked into this, because otherwise they wouldn't be available. The only thing is, before I even got a DJI drone, I got a super cheap drone for £10, almost to crash on purpose. Almost just to see this is what it feels like to, you know, it hasn't got a camera, it's £10, just a tiny little drone it was, just a little toy one. So
is that just to get used to the feel of
yeah,
how to
just
fly?
just to try the sticks pretty much, yeah. But it literally broke the first time I used it pretty much. But then once you've flown that, you'll then appreciate how much better these drones are. But just don't believe that you get a drone for like £80 or whatever. It says, oh, it's got 4K camera, it's got a gimbal. It'll be rubbish. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have seen them as well.
Yeah.
And you know, like you said, you get sucked in, and I'm sure you guys might have seen them, and you're thinking, hold on a minute, this one's pretty cheap. They were just, you know, trial that. But like you said, there's no point.
It's like you're trying to sort of trick the system, aren't you?
Yeah.
I've seen this deal, it's on offer, Black Friday sale, let's go in for it. And then it's going to be a waste of like whatever you spend on it, you know?
Yeah, and poorly built or something like that.
Yeah. And as I said before, the Mini 2, which is a classic drone, I mean, I can't stress enough, people that have had Mini 2s before, they love that drone. You know, it's still relevant, it's a 2-year-old drone, it's still relevant now. People have this like emotional attachment to it. It's kind of strange.
like moving house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The next issue to look at is whether to go for used or new. Do you have a preference on this?
Well, at first I was thinking, let's go for used, because like if I crash it or I'm not good at flying, then I haven't wasted a lot of money. And then also I'd be able to figure out whether it was just like a phase, you know, and I wanted it just to have a quick go at it and then lock it in the cupboard somewhere.
And the advantage of buying used is it's sort of already lost its value.
Right.
So if you do go on to resell it, you're not gonna, it's a bit like getting a new car. You know, the minute you open it, it's gonna lose some of its value. So my general advice, and what I've done a lot with drones in the past, is I'll get used, but I'll do my research about the seller.
Right.
You know, so I'll often get a refurbished drone. I've seen they've got good reviews. I'll do it through PayPal. You do hear some horror stories on Marketplace. I know there are some great deals to be getting out there for sure, and you can do it, but the issue with Marketplace is there can be a lot of time wasters as well.
Yeah.
You know, so it is your personal preference. My friend Dave, he didn't do it through Marketplace, but he got an incredible deal on Mini 3 Pro, £600 Flymore combo with the new RC. But he would have spent a lot of time finding that deal.
Yeah.
You know, it's messaging a lot of people, finding the right seller, and then do it through PayPal so you've got that safety as well. But if any of you guys can find a Mini 3 Pro for £600, if you can find that, get that drone, because it's unbelievable. In fact, I probably started this channel mostly because of the Mini 3 Pro. The drone is that good, right. You know. So, and it's not just because it's got the Pro, it's great for beginners. You know, you've got the obstacle avoidance. It also means that you've got the scope to, as you progress, you then not got to swap your drone.
Yeah. What you said then about the Pro, I think that's what confused me, because you usually get one and then the next generation comes out, but then they do two of the same generation, but Pro at the end of it. It just confuses you on what you think you'll need.
Yeah.
So
that's it. Like I said, there is the Mini 3, which doesn't have the Pro thing, but then you haven't got the obstacle avoidance. And that, for a beginner, like I said, as long as you're not complacent about the obstacle avoidance, it is a handy feature to have. So I don't feel like you should be, okay, I'm a beginner, therefore I'm gonna forget about the Mini 3 Pro. Makes sense?
Yeah, it does. But it's all these things that you think about and you get confused and overwhelmed, and sometimes you don't make a decision because there's so many to choose from. But obviously you're helping me, you're helping the guys out there try and make a decision on what's best for us.
Yeah. So like I said, I think right now my two favourite options, if you're really specific about mountaineering, then I think the Air 2S is a great buy. For £500, what a drone to get. If budget is an issue and you want a general drone, I think a used Mini 2 for under £300 is incredible. And like I said, a lot of people absolutely love that drone. It is a great classic drone. And then a general boss drone my favourite drone, Mini 3 Pro. You know, that is just such a good drone. Also, there's so many issues like, do you get the Flymore combo and etc. But I would generally say, I haven't bought Flymore combos because I want to try out and see how many batteries do I need.
Right, yeah.
You know, you do save a little bit of money with Flymore combo, and you get a little bag. The bag's not brilliant, to be fair. You get a little charging hub, which is quite useful. But I just don't want to say to Matt, okay, you go all out, get the new RC, get the Mini 3 Pro, and then it's getting to over £1,000.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Then it just gets intimidating.
Yeah, it's confusing in terms of like that when you said about batteries. Like that's something I didn't even think of. You know, how many batteries do you need for a flight, or you know, how far can you go on a 50% battery because you don't want to lose the drone. So it's something I didn't even think about. So yeah, it's a good point.
The battery life's great on a lot of these drones, to be fair. About 34 minutes, although you don't get that full amount, but you know, it's about 26 minutes in real life flight on Mini 3 Pro. And that is really good. So generally speaking, when I go out on my drone, I'll either use 2 or 3 batteries.
Right.
That said, if you're new to it, I would recommend, I think 2 batteries and see if you need the third one. You know, you don't have to feel pressurized to have to get the Flymore combo, you know. And it's also like putting that great big lump sum of money to start with can be a bit daunting. Whereas you could get a drone, see how you get on with the batteries, and then always get an extra one.
Yeah. So what do you think is the best combination? The drone, the RC, and an extra battery?
Okay, the first decision you make is whether you're getting used or new.
Right.
The deal I said that Dave got with the Mini 3 Pro for £600, Flymore combo, the RC remote, that is, it's going to be hard to find that sort of deal, but if you can, you've then got the option to potentially sell that RC. That goes for about £250, so you could earn back straight away a lot of that and then get the more affordable RC-N1 controller for about £60, £70.
Right, so you're just flipping your way up to the better drones.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. DJI have this really amazing scheme called the Care Refresh, which especially even for me as well, it's nice to have the peace of mind. Yeah. So you're paying, it ranges between 70 to about 120. It can be more for the more expensive drones. So you can have a 2-year insurance policy with them. If you crash your drone, they'll replace it. You do have to pay on top of that as well. but it is nice having that peace of mind.
Like an XS, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've had to use it once, and to be fair, DJI were very good. No questions asked, just sent the drone over, they sent a replacement model. So rather than having to spend out like £600-700 for a new drone, you just use up that. It's like you given 2 chances type thing.
Right, okay. So with that, obviously they would keep the old drone. Is that then when they fix it, and then would they sell that on their website as a
There are actually different options. So you can have a fast option, or will they try and fix it?
Okay.
You know, and they'll send you a new model pretty much, because most drones it's very hard to fix. Obviously with the used and new, the option that I've gone before is like a halfway model is getting a refurbished one.
Right.
So then you're going through a trusted eBay store. I've always had a good experience with that. You know, and obviously you can see what scores they've got on the previous sales. So it's just takes the edge off a little bit of what you paid. Also on the Care Refresh, you can still have Care Refresh on a used drone, which is amazing. But you have to go through a verification process with DJI.
To make sure it's authentic.
To make sure it's working. You have to send them screen recordings, you have to show them the gimbal's working. So it's a little bit extra work setting up, but it gives you peace of mind if you're buying used. So long as you're getting it through a verified seller that looks good, and then you get that Carefree refresh through DJI, then you've still got the same peace of mind buying used gear. Really strong argument for getting a drone and getting one now is I've had these experiences around the world. If the drone laws are changed, I've still got those experiences. I've still got the footage.
Yeah.
The lawmakers can't take those away from me. I look at some countries I went to 3 or 4 years ago with my drone, and then, oh, that looks amazing, I'll go there. And then I check the drone laws. Nah, not going that place. And it's a sneaky way to get a bit more exercise. Because you're like, I've got to get up to get the sunset. And you're not thinking you're doing all this walking, you're thinking, oh, I want to get this drone shot. So it's actually getting you out and about, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, because I've messaged you asking what you're up to, and you're like, oh, I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm going there. And I'm like, oh, what are you going there for? I'm just taking my drone out, go and have a fly.
My best friend.
Yeah,
you know what I
of
mean?
course.
And also, we've spoken about this before, like, you've got a choice in this day and age. In this day and age of media and everything, you're either a consumer or you're a creator.
Yeah, a lot of us are consumers, aren't we, really?
Yeah, and there is a back and forth between the two. Of course, if you're getting a drone, to some extent, you have to consume the educational content to get better. But that's different to mindless swiping. There's a difference between watching a tutorial video of the best drone moves to just watching someone else's holiday photos.
So it's purposefully looking.
Yeah, sorry, I hit you then. It's making a point. Yeah, it's being intentional about the type of content you're looking at, and then applying that to improving your own life, improving your own experiences. There are, of course, some negative sides to drone filming as well. One thing can be, you need to think about who you go out to create the content with, because it can annoy some people. So I've gone out, certain members of my family, certain friends, they haven't got the patience. So that's something to bear in mind, it depends. Some people want the attention on them, not on the drone.
Yeah, it can be, but it can be their alone time, can't it? Well, sorry, let me start that again. It can be your alone time, can't it? You go out, you take your drone, and you just chill, and you just detach from the rest of the world and see what's obviously out there. And if it's for me, in nature, a bit of fun, just, seeing the beautiful sights that we have to offer in this country, as well as others.
And also progressing, getting better at your skills and seeing that developing. What's amazing about drone filming is, like, you might think, oh, cinematography, that's above me. But then you start learning these drone moves, and then you see the same moves used in film on normal camera. And then suddenly you start thinking, oh, maybe I'd like to do a bit of filming on a normal camera as well.
Like sweeping in and stopping and coming back.
Yeah, exactly. And then you say, okay, I can do that on my drone. There's nothing to stop me from trying that maybe on my phone. And then you think, maybe I get an SLR camera, and then before you know it, your mate's wedding's coming up, and then you're getting a bit of money on the, you know what I mean? The other final slight negative thing about drones is you can occasionally get a negative reaction from other people. But that is quite rare that I've found it, if you're particular about where you set off from. And look, a lot of these channels you see with drone confrontations, a lot of them are looking for a reaction, and it is quite rare. Although you do sometimes feel like slightly a weirdo doing it. But then look, Matt's a confident guy, it's not going to bother him. You get a lot of dads come up to you and say, oh, what drone's that? Most people think it's a cool toy, really. So,
What do you think the reason is that you get confrontation off like your normal members of the public? Do you think that they're scared of it being too close, of it falling, or privacy if it's near a house or something?
yeah,
like that?
a lot of it is honestly just because they're Karens. To be fair, just 'cause they want the
Ken and
control.
Karens.
Yeah, they just want, and there's a mixture of different reasons. I do think these drones are a lot quieter now. So especially the Mini 3 Pro, the Mini 3, so that takes away a lot of the problems. I can understand that the loud drones, they're wanting to enjoy the nature. Suddenly you've got this like Apache helicopter, tiny Apache helicopter. You're sort of ruining their walk a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit more sympathetic in the past when their drones were louder. I think now, if they're complaining, they're just wanting to kick up a fuss. Obviously you've got to stick to the rules.
Yeah.
And you've got to know where the no flight zones are and that sort of thing. Don't fly near airports, don't fly over prisons, and generally be sensible about it, really. Obviously, for a beginner, you want to be careful about not crashing your drone, so I've created a video that I'll leave here with ways to avoid that crashing, and I'll see you guys in that video.